We're live.
Hey everybody, I'm Christine Danchuk and I am here with Frank Correa and we are back for Tech Live. We are excited to be back again. And so if you have any technical questions regarding your Tri-5 that you would like Frank to answer, go ahead and type those questions in. And Frank first is going to go over some of these engine mounts here, the differences.
So we carry several motor mounts in stock. We have weld-in style, which would be this. We have some bolt-in style, which look like this. Now, the weld-in styles are a little bit more expensive, but they're a little bit more professionally made. We've got these from Williams Classics. This one here is actually a weld-in for an LS block. So these are going to bolt to your LS block, and then these are the brackets with motor mounts. These use a polyurethane rubber bushing instead of a typical Chevy rubber mount. And these are just going to bolt up inside here like this. So it's a little bit more straightforward, no adapters needed. This is your adapter for the block, which if you were to use, for instance, this type of motor mount, then you would have to use adapters on your LS block to use something like this style. And William also makes a set here for the small block, big block. And the small block, big block setup here, these bolt onto the block. These can actually be in a stock location, or you can flip these from left to right and it'll pull the motor 3/4 of an inch forward. So very universal for big block, small block. Of course, most people are going to pull the motor on a big block 3/4 of an inch forward, but you can do it on a small block if you're going to run an HEI distributor. These here, both of these brackets weld to the frame. These brackets are designed so you can grind on these if they don't fit your frame perfect. So these are going to fit seam frames and seamless style frames. And I mean, you could probably make these even work on a frame that is not perfect, you know, perfectly straight. So it does allow you to grind a little bit so you can make these things fit perfect. When these things are welded in, these things should look like part of the frame. They shouldn't have no big gaps or be crooked. And then both of these are his newest design, which does not use a Chevy motor mount. It just uses these polyurethane bushings. Now this is his older style here. This is the set I have in my car. These are going to weld to the frame exactly the same, but these are going to use a heavy duty type Chevy motor mount, which comes with the brackets. These are replaceable from any auto parts store. These are got a safety feature built into them, and they're a little bit more heavy duty than a typical motor mount. Now, he also, over here for our last motor mount, these are offered by CPP, Classic Performance. These are a simple bolt-in bracket. These here will require 2 rivets from the original frame to be taken out, and then you're going to bolt this in and drill the other 2 holes. And then they give you all the hardware, grade 8 hardware to bolt them in. These are so simple you might not even need to put a block in to mock these up. Now, going back to the classic, Williams Classic stuff, you should have a block in the car to mock these up. You want to make sure these get in there straight, not one too far forward than the other, mocking up the motor to stay straight.
Okay, yes, we have a question from Ruben Torres. Can I use a regular power steering pump on the original power steering center link with the piston?
You can. There's the Saginaw pump like we carry. I've installed a good 2 or 3 of them on people's original power steering, but you will need to bring the pressure down on it a little bit. we do have a shim kit in our catalog that was originally put out on the market for rack and pinion to pull down the pressure so rack and pinion's not too touchy. Those Saginaw pumps put out about 1,300 PSI, which is way too much for original power steering. Original power steering needs to be around 9 to 950. So the shim kit is real simple, gives you a little tool, tells you how to take the control valve out of the back of the pump, and the tool holds the valve in your vise while you take it apart. And you could normally add about 4 shims. We'll bring it down to about 950. And out of the 3 that I've done, customers never had any issues with blowing out the valve or with too much pressure. The steering wheel could be erratic and not actually could be erratic in the way of you not even touching the wheel, and it'll just start turning on you. So that's why the pressure has to be brought down. And we do have hose kits that would go from that pump to your original control valve, or we have also a hose kit which would also go to one of the aftermarket valves as well. So yes, you can do it. It's just going to require that shim kit.
Okay, great. I hope that answers your question. Okay, Clay Benson is asking, are there any interference issues with the rain gear wipers and the vintage air evaporator in a 57 sedan?
No, definitely not. I've done all 3 years. I just recently did both a 57 station wagon and a 57 two-door hardtop, complete rewiring as well. And no, they clear perfect with both any of the new vintage air systems. Of course, when you're putting your vent hoses up there, you just want to make sure the vent hoses are not right up against the wiper arm assembly, so when it's moving, it's not dragging on your hoses, which simple zip ties would keep those out of the way.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question. I think that Clay, yes. Okay, Steve Duncan wants to know, he says, I have an oil bath air cleaner converted to paper filter. And do you know what paper filter to use? He has a 56 4-barrel.
Just a couple years ago, I did a 56 4-barrel, and what I ended up doing is taking the oil filament inside the air cleaner completely out, and all I did was buy a simple, small, cheap chrome air cleaner, and small enough to fit inside the outside air cleaner assembly. And you just wing nut it into the bottom base first, and then you got the stud sticking up so you can put the top lid over the top of it. So it's kind of a paper air cleaner within an air cleaner. And I think I used a small one, probably around 6 or 7 inches in diameter. You may be able to get away with a 10-inch diameter one. And you can't see the chrome air cleaner once the lid's back on top. And it was, and I'm sure you can get, and when you buy a cheaper air cleaner, you get a cheap throwaway filter element. I'm sure you can get a better quality one from somebody like K&N.
Okay, great. Thank you, Frank. All right, so while we're waiting for you guys to send in some more questions, we have a question that came in last week. It's from Steve Holler, and the question reads, he wants to know the benefits of the shock relocation bar and how to mount the bar and what shocks can be used with the relocation bar.
So we have a few different bars in the catalog. We have bolt-ins and we have weld-ins. We have one that's a weld-in dedicated for a station wagon. So I believe this gentleman has a station wagon. So that particular Crossmember is going to be double eye shocks. instead of a single eye shock like original with a stud on top. The benefits of this is the original shocks were mounted to a sheet metal floor. Even though it was double layered sheet metal, all it takes is fatigue already from the years of the car. If you have any fatigue in that area, it's possible you can blow a shock right through the sheet metal. And the fatigue usually was caused by people in the 70s putting air shocks on the car. That's a big no-no. And you put air in the air shocks, and now you've got, say, 1,500 pounds relying on that sheet metal. That's not what it was designed for. If you have just ordinary gas shocks and the sheet metal is in good condition, it's gonna work the way Chevy made it. Or I've seen cars that had a little bit of rust in that area from water getting in there and setting. And unless you repair it properly, you could put the shock cross member to fix that issue too. So there's a couple different ways. I mean, I've had people that still want to put air shocks in their car. You definitely have to put the cross member in there for that. But you know, there's like I said, a couple different selections too to choose from. Some people just automatically do it without even having any sheet metal fatigue in that area.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the next question. Ruben wants to know, would the original 3-level AC control panel work on a vintage Air?
For which years?
Let me see. I think he told us what. Ruben, can you let us know what year you have? What
Yeah,
car?
because I can tell you without knowing what year, vintage Air works with deluxe heater controls. So you might be talking about 55, 56. The deluxe heater controls is 3 levers.
He has a 56.
Okay, so yes, the deluxe heater controls is 2 levers up and down, 1 left to right. And yes, that one is the one you need to have with the vintage Air. The old standard cheapy heater, it had in 56 2 knobs that look like radio knobs. That one won't work, and then in 55 it was a single knob, and that won't work. It's definitely got to be deluxe. And then in 57, for the 57 owners, you got to have the deluxe controls that has 4 levers that slide up and down, and it's usually got one that crisscrosses at the top. The newest vintage Air for the 57 does not use the top switch anymore. It's just the 4 levers.
Okay. All right, guys, send in your questions. Oh, Ruben wants to know, so the 3-lever won't work then?
No, it will. It should be, the 3 levers is a deluxe control. So you do that 2 slide up and down, which one's going to be your cold and hot air blend. One's going to slide up and down as a on and off switch. So yes, the 3-lever is the one you need for vintage Air.
All right, Ruben, I hope that helps you out. All right, so let's send in our questions, you guys. We are only here for another maybe 15 minutes. And also I want to let you guys know too that Danchuk has a trivia question that we put out every week. And if you are one of the first 15 people to get that question correct and you answer it the right way, we will send you, well actually there's just some cool prizes that you can get. So you guys are going to want to look for that in the email that we send out every week. And also in that email, you'll just find some new parts that we're showcasing. And then there's some really cool stories with our customers and their cars. So look out for that email, and then you'll see that trivia question that you can answer and win a cool prize. Okay, guys? All right.
All right, so in the meantime, we're waiting for any other questions to come in. We've gone over the motor mounts. Now we've got 2 of our most popular cross members here. This one here is through Williams Classic. This one here, the in brackets here are going to be a weld-in style. These get welded onto your frame rails, and then the crossmember bolts in and out of them. He includes all the hardware, and he includes a trans mount with it as well, so it's all complete. This one's got a nice drop in it to allow more exhaust clearance here, so this will be very close to the floorboard once it's installed. And when you're mocking it up, you know, with these brackets, if you have to angle them a little bit, it's also okay, which, you know, in conjunction with his motor mounts you'll be putting in. And then,
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but we have another question that just came in from Mike. He says, my 56-210 has original rear springs and is sagging in the rear. I was thinking about getting your 5-leaf springs. Is that a good choice to help raise the rear up?
if you're looking for stock height, yes, the stock springs are definitely going to bring it up to stock height. If you want to do some checking, you can measure between your axle housing and the bottom side of your frame directly above it. I believe the 5-leaf leaf spring will probably put it at about, I'm going to say around 7.5 inches in that area of travel. I've seen original springs be sagging down to about 3.5, 4 inches sometimes, especially if it's a 4-leaf spring setup. 4-leaf was the stock basic leaf spring. Chevrolet did offer a 5-leaf as an option if the vehicle was going to maybe have suitcases and luggage in the trunk all the time, or if it was going to be used for a work vehicle and they were going to be putting a lot of stuff in the back. For instance, a 150 without a back seat, they might have put a lot of stuff in it. So they did have the 5-leaf as a slight heavy-duty spring. So yeah, definitely if you want to do some measuring first, you can double check and see if the height won't be too high for you. I mean, you can always put a small, very small lowering block in it if you had to, but you will get a new ride out of it after putting those in.
So you said, yeah, yes, mine is a 4-leaf.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so thank you. All right, Robert wants to know, my 55 Bel Air rear end sags. What are my options to correct the factory specs?
I'm thinking that you're talking about the springs like the other customer with the spring problem, because your rear end doesn't sag, it'll be the actual, you're talking about the springs are sagging, causing the whole back end of the car to sag. But yeah, far apart from going and paying a spring place to add a leaf or re-arc your springs, which sometimes you could spend more than buying a whole new set of leaf springs. I want to say that a lot of people's spring bushings are usually worn out and you need to go in and replace them anyhow. So we might as well replace the springs. But yeah, if your back end is lower than your front end, then you definitely need new springs, I'm sure. The springs, in my opinion, for being brand new springs that we sell, they're made here in North America. They're going to bring up the back end quite a bit, and they're, you know, like we were answering the last question, most sagging springs are going to be somewhere in the 3.5 inch range, 4 inch range, where these are going to probably bring it up a good to 7 inch, 7.5 inch. So it's going to be quite a bit. It's just knowing if that's how high you really want it. You know, some people might not want it quite that high, and we do have a 2-inch lowered spring that I recommend if you don't want it quite too high.
All right, guys, these are excellent questions. Keep them coming, all right? So, Scott, this might be more of a customer service question. Scott wants to know, do you guys have the dash trim in stock yet for a 57 Bel Air?
Yeah, we don't have a computer system right here to my access to look it up. But yeah, just call customer service and they should be able to answer your question right away.
Okay, Scott? All right. You want to continue?
Yeah, we got one more Crossmember here. This one is a bolt-in from CPP, which is usually works hand in hand with the motor mounts. This is a bracket that's designed to be able to be bolted onto the side of the frame rail. You can even go back later on after bolting it in and have somebody weld it. I've done that before where I didn't have the facility to weld it at that time, so we bolted it in first, and while the car was at the exhaust shop, I asked the guy to throw a few beads of weld on the bracket just to hold it in better. But this is simple to put in. It's already kind of set up. There's a couple different ways you can do it. Most of the ways I put it in is this way. Let this kind of hang on the top of the frame so it's sturdier. They give you all the hardware. The only thing that's sold separately is the rubber mount, which then you have the choice of putting rubber or polyurethane in. And this one too, has pretty good exhaust clearance as well. I don't think it's got as big of a drop as this one, but I've never had any issues getting exhaust under that one as well. And I have, all of these have pretty much I've installed at least once, if not more than once. And so these are our top sellers from the catalog.
And so does it matter just on preference then, which one they use?
Yeah, it's gonna be preference based on if you got the facility to weld a bracket in, or you're just gonna have to use a hand drill and bolt in. And then sometimes it's money.
Is it better to weld, or is it work just as well as if you do the drill?
The bolt-in is good. I wouldn't use a bolt-in if you've got a big amount of horsepower. If you're running 700, 800 horsepower, then I definitely recommend the weld-in ones. But the bolt-in ones, people put them in with stock big blocks, a little bit higher horsepower small blocks. They'll work. I mean, they're held in by grade 8 bolts. But definitely the weld-in is more recommended for high horsepower or somebody that just likes to fabricate. This is a little bit more time consuming, but with a good welder, you can weld these in and make them look nice.
Okay. All right, guys. These are some really good questions that were coming in, so let's keep them coming, and we're only here for less than another 10 minutes, and so we're just going to wait for you guys. Frank, any new cars or projects you're working on right now?
Besides trying to get my car back together, yes, I have a friend's 56 Nomad. He's wanting to redo most of the front end. I've got the front clip pulled off of it. I've got the engine and trans pulled out. We plan on switching out the 400 turbo trans to a 700 turbo trans. We will be putting a serpentine pulley system on the engine, and of course repainting it, new manifold, new valve covers, and then we'll put a cross flow radiator in there with a complete aluminum core support. So yeah, we're doing quite a bit. All of them were added air conditioning to it. He already had power steering, but we were going to put air conditioning in at the same time. Next question will be, does he want to repaint the car while we're doing all this? So it's going to be a big job.
Okay. All right, so Ruben wants to know, do you all know when you'll get the AC vents for, okay, sorry. So Ruben, this is another customer service question, but I'll just read it. Do you guys know when you're gonna get the AC vents in for 1956? Do you have any idea with that?
No, if you're talking about the stock looking ones that go in the dash, yeah, that's definitely gonna have to check with customer service and see if that manufacturer is behind on shipping us stuff. We do have another set from Vintage Air. I would imagine we have those in stock. They're made to fit all 3 years. They have a stock appearance, but but they're not an exact replica of a stock one, but they do bolt through the dashboard like a stock vent. I would imagine we got those in stock. I can even have those drop shipped to you as well.
Okay. And then for Scott Burns, you had wanted to know when we were going to get the dash trim dash trim back in stock for the 57s, and it looks like here we're working on it, and hopefully within the next month we'll have it in. So just keep checking with us, okay, you guys? We're trying so hard to get everything in stock and get everything going again. It's just been so crazy with COVID and trying to get the parts and things. So just keep, contacting us, and hopefully pretty soon we'll get all that stuff in. Okie dokie. So yes, Ruben says thank you very much.
Yeah, with some of this manufacturing, if we have to depend on another company for materials, and that company is not working at 100%, now we're waiting for them to deliver materials to us so we can put them in our tooling and make them. I've had carpet manufacturer won't sell more than 1 yard of material separately from your carpet kit because they're afraid that their carpet mill won't be able to be producing the carpet fast enough, and they'll run out of carpet for kids. So every company has to depend on another company for materials, and if they're just not getting the materials to those companies fast enough, then everybody gets behind.
Yeah. All right. Okay, you guys, just another 2 minutes here. So any last minute questions, send them on in. And I want to let you guys know that we are open Monday through Friday from 7 to 3:30. Saturday, no, but hopefully eventually we will keep you updated. And when we know exactly what hours when we'll be open again on Saturday. And but you guys can come down to the showroom. We're open. So of course we are. Oh, sorry. Quick question. Let's do this one really fast. Scott wants to know if you are going to build a 56 Chevy, which one would be best? A 2-door Bel Air or a Nomad? And what would be the best money spent?
Right now, still, the Nomad has probably the more turnover on money investment. They do sell for more than even a 2-door hardtop. And but you're still looking, Nomads are a little bit costly to build. Not saying that the hardtop is not costly to build. And then your sedan's going to be a little easier and cheaper than the hardtop. But any 2-door is bringing in, I'm sure, still good money. But the Nomad is going to be a little harder to find find one to build in a decent condition. And just remember, there's a lot of sheet metal not being made for Nomads, so it makes it a little bit more of a tougher project as well.
Okay. I'm getting some people that are watching from Australia, Sydney, Australia. How neat, you guys. It's morning over there already. That's so cool. So thanks for watching, you guys. We'll be back here next week at 1 o'clock answering any tech questions that you have. And looks like we only have less than a minute left. So if there's anything else that you guys have, any other questions or anything, let me know right away here because we are almost finished. And Frank, is there anything else, or do you think that you went over everything?
Yeah, I've covered all of them. Of course, maybe some people have still questions. This, just going back over here to the welded ones, this was the first version that's been out for several years, been used by many people with the original style motor mounts, and then this is the updated version of this. These are a little bit more money, but it gives you the flexibility again to have the motor in the stock location or 3/4 of an inch forward by just switching these motor mount block brackets. These still get welded in the same location. And then these polyurethane bushings he uses are almost indestructible, so you aren't going to be going to the auto parts store and having to buy motor mounts every so often like these ones. And in this LS version is the same as this. It's using the polyurethane as well.
Okay, great. All right, guys, our time is up, but Steve wants to know, is Bowling Green going to happen? So yes, we are having the Danchuk Trifive Nationals in Bowling Green, Kentucky this year. We're planning on it if everything goes well. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be there. So I hope to see you guys all there. Frank, are you going?
I should be there.
Yay! So yeah, I'm so excited because since last year we weren't able to have it. I'm super excited for this show. So all right, guys. Well, it was. I had a good time. Thanks for explaining all these different engine mounts, and we will be here next week again, and we'll see you then. Okay? Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.